In the new all-kill chapter for Dead by Daylight, we get a new survivor alongside the dark and twisted trickster, and this is the equally dark Yun-Jin Lee, who's the new survivor, a ruthless music producer whose perks reflect her capability to do anything to get ahead. She is ambitious and tough, and this is a reflection of her background and her ability to climb to success. This is simply a quick lore overview for those who haven't got access to the PTB and want to know more about the backstory of the characters involved in the new chapter. If you haven't seen my video on the Trickster, I highly recommend you check that out first. Yun-Jin Lee came from a difficult background in Korea, where her family were heavily in debt. Her chance for success and break out of this cycle came when she was 17, when the record label Mighty One came to her school looking for talent. While she failed on the front of getting a position as talent, she was successful in obtaining an unpaid internship. For years, she had to work hard with no thanks, and she crafted some of the studio's best hits without any recognition or thanks. So, to combat this, she made herself public with a flamboyant style of dress and began to put her signature style in her songs that she produced. Fans began to recognise her hand behind the hits. She then became a producer of the boy band known as No Spin, which was failing at that point and needed her help. In order to bring it some edge, she brought in Jae-woon, the man who would one day become the Trickster. It was this act that made the Trickster take special interest in Yun-Jin Lee when it came to his final savage act. After all, it was her who placed him on his path to stardom. The Jae-woon-led No Spin were an instant viral success, and Yun-Jin was finally recognised as a successful and effective producer, and her elevation to the upper echelons of society was complete. However, the success of the band would soon be overtaken by a tragedy, as the studio caught fire while No Spin were still in the building. Yun-Jin, concerned only for her own life first, rushed out before all the other members of staff who were taking their time, and she made a speedy escape. But when she got outside, she realised to her horror that the band were still inside. Only one survivor emerged from the accident, Jae-woon. Not to let go of her cash cow so easily, despite the fact the band was destroyed, she launched his solo career in secret, pushing him to tap into his inner grief and turmoil. They toured together and he was a success. Yet a bizarre series of murders followed in their wake. Yun-Jin became concerned for her star and upped his security, fearing that the murderer was inspired by Jae-woon's alternate style. She helped Jae-woon work on his new material when they returned back from the tour, yet his music had become too experimental for her, as it was filled with strange shrieks and noises. One day she recognised the voice of one of the murderer's victims, and her heart froze as she listened again to the Trickster's opening track. She began to recognise the sounds and wondered if he had sampled the voice of the victim, but buried this concern quickly, because she would not accept that her meal ticket was responsible. Eventually, however, the board grew annoyed with Jae-woon's lack of success as a self-producer, and so it was decided he would be made to perform a private show for them as a test. Yun-Jin was on his side and she argued for him, but ultimately she was overruled. When the performance came, she took her seat, and like the board members, she was drugged by a gas that filled the room. The Trickster tied her up and made her watch, a special honour in his mind, as a reward for her part in his success and being on his side. Then he tortured the board members on stage as if they were his instruments, eliciting a cruel number of sounds from their throats and bodies as he tore them apart. Yun-Jin, meanwhile, watched with rage and defiance. She was so angry that she ignored the obvious signs, and that the Trickster was behind all the death that they had experienced. She was not going to let him get the best of her. As he moved towards her to finish her off, the fog of the entity came to collect them both, and she welcomed the chance to defy him again in the realm of the entity. So that's a brief overview of Yun-Jin Lee's lore that we have released in the PTB. The Behaviour have actually now released it on their website, and I'll leave a link for that below, where they've left like the kind of full transcript of what's included in the PTB's backstory. So if you wanted to read more detail, please do, because obviously I've just done a quick overview just for those who wanted to get a little bit of a flavour of what the chapter's about. Again, if you like this video, please check out the Trickster video I did, a similar video for his lore, and if you like Dead by Daylight, please consider subscribing, as I will be doing more. Thanks for your time, guys, and take care.